Hey there, welcome back to How to Medicate and welcome to this new video. Today I'm bringing you a video on the health lessons we can learn from our world leaders. If we are meeting for the first time, my name is Raoul. I'm a medical doctor from the Netherlands and I'm making weekly medical videos to educate myself as well as you, my viewer. Having said that, it was very hard for me to find any good quality information on the health of our world leaders. Very little was publicly confirmed by governments, but there was a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean libraries filled with gossip. So for your entertainment and education, of course, I saw through all the gossip and I distilled the good quality information. And before we start, this video comes with a huge disclaimer. I'm not diagnosing our world leaders, I'm not acting in my role of a doctor, and I'm only using publicly available information to learn you, my viewer, a thing or two. What I'm trying to say is, don't take this video too serious. I'm just trying to be educative and a little bit funny as well. So let's get started. We will start off this list with the oldest reigning monarch in the world. It's Queen Elizabeth II from Great Britain. And at the moment of making this video, she is 93 years old, which gives her the right on some ailments, I would say at least. Now, for me it's not surprising that since 2016 there has been increasing concerns for the health of the Queen. That year it was publicly confirmed that she was dealing with a cold, with the flu, and she needed to cancel several appointments as well as public events. And this brings us to health lesson number 1. People older than 60 years become more vulnerable for diseases like the flu or any disease for that matter. This is because our immune system becomes old too, and it gets less efficient. This gives viruses or bacteria more time to divide, more time to accumulate, making the patient sicker and sicker. But after this initial delay, our immune system gets going and hopefully the virus gets eradicated fully and you get better. However, it is this initial delay that is potentially dangerous. Because if the disease gets too severe and accumulates too much, then it can cause all kinds of complications, like a pneumonia for example, and this can be dangerous and end fatally. Luckily, Queen Elizabeth II recovered fully from the flu and has been quite healthy since then. The only minor health problem she has been spotted with recently are some bruises on her hands. And this brings us to health lesson number 2. Under elderly, bruises are way more common, and this is because our skin ages too. Skin cells start to divide more slowly, making our skin thinner, also causing it to be less moist, making it dry and wrinkled. Ultimately, this leads to slower healing of our skin and makes our blood vessels more vulnerable. It is this combination of easily damageable blood vessels as well as slow healing that makes bruises more common on the elderly. And the last lesson we can learn from the Queen is one regarding lifespan. You see, still today the best way to determine someone's lifespan is to look at the age their close relatives reached. The older they became, the more likely you yourself are to reach an older age. And the mother of Queen Elizabeth reached an age of 101 years old, so she is all good there. Second on the list is Prince Philip, husband of Queen Elizabeth II, and he's even older than the Queen. Currently he's 98 years old and he only retired 3 years ago. They don't make him like that anymore. Amazing. However, it is rumored that he retired due to health issues. You see, in 2011 the Buckingham Palace released that Prince Philip was having a severe acute chest pain. He was immediately brought to the hospital and there they found out one of the arteries supplying his heart itself with nutrients and oxygen was blocked, causing it to slowly die because of the lack of the nutrients and the oxygen. He immediately received surgery to unblock this vessel and he recovered quite well since then. This health lesson is based on heart attacks. You see, each and every one of us, while aging, develops some level of cardiovascular disease. This risk can be further increased by high levels of cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, inflammation in your body, as well as smoking tobacco, drinking alcohol, or being overweight or even obese. All these factors, as well as aging, contribute to a process called arteriosclerosis. This is the formation of plaques from fat and cholesterol in your arteries. This happens simultaneously in all arteries, but some are more affected than others. Your coronary arteries, the arteries of your heart, they are notorious for developing such plaques. So these plaques slowly grow each and every year, causing our vessels to narrow more and more. They mostly remain asymptomatic, so without symptoms, but they can cause chest pain once in a while. However, at one point they can rupture, and after this rupture they will cause blood clot formation, and then within seconds or minutes your vessel is completely blocked. This leads to a part of your heart receiving not enough blood, causing it to die slowly. This requires immediate surgery to unblock this vessel, because otherwise it may end fatally. This brings us to Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, and his health is clouded in some mystery. You see, each and every year the White House releases a letter based on the President's health as well as a press conference. And each year they claim he's in excellent health.
In summary, the President's overall health is excellent.
But if you read the actual letter, it states something quite different. For example, his cholesterol is way too high, especially his LDL, and supposedly he's clinically obese. In addition to the fact that he had a CT calcium scan that showed us that he has coronary artery disease, which means the formation of those plaques in the arteries of your heart. Now, if you paid any attention when I was talking about heart attacks, then you know that obesity can contribute to the formation of those plaques in your heart. The health lesson here is that this plaque formation is very common under white males over the age of 60, and it is mostly caused by their lifestyle. They sit too much almost all day during their work, and they almost never exercise. And to make matters even worse, they also eat too much and too unhealthy. This leads to an increased risk of a possible heart attack, as well as strokes, diabetes,
1 hour later,
sleep apnea, and even all kinds of cancer. Therefore, my advice would be, take a run twice a week if possible, get an adjustable standing desk so you stand more and you sit less, and try to cook your own meals so you eat healthier. This will surely help us all to reach the excellent health status and be as healthy, apparently, as President Trump. This brings us to the man who embodies the complete opposite of President Trump. It's Vladimir Putin. He and his government worked really hard to give him the image of a young, healthy sportsman, releasing regular pictures of him doing all kinds of sport, judo, skydiving, as well as even topless horse riding. Never see the White House releasing any of those pictures? I wonder why. Unfortunately, even President Putin is struggling with some health problems. In 2012, he postponed several meetings and public conferences. He claimed to be dealing with a back injury caused by sporting. It was also confirmed that he probably needed surgery for it, but they never told us what back injury it was. So I want to take this opportunity to learn you something about 3 very common back injuries. Maybe the most common back injury is a spinal disc herniation, an injury of the cushioning and connective tissue between your vertebrae. This potentially causes extreme back pain and sensory changes in the form of numbness, tingling, or even paresthesia in the affected areas. In very severe cases, this can lead to weakness in the legs and even control problems of your bowel or bladder. This is very serious, and then you would need a surgical treatment. However, in most cases, surgical removal of the herniated material is not necessary and a conservative approach is sufficient. This is medical treatment in the form of painkillers as well as physiotherapy, and this is usually enough. Other possible back injuries, although less common, are spondylolisthesis, which is the displacement of one vertebra compared to others, or spondylosis, which is degeneration of the vertebral column. Now, both diseases can be treated conservatively, so with medication, painkillers and physiotherapy, and most of the time this is sufficient, although if complaints do not get better within 1 year or they even worsen, then also surgical treatment of those injuries can be done. That was hard. Let's continue with the next ruler. This brings us to one of the major politicians of Europe, Angela Merkel, Bundeskanzlerin der Bundesrepublik Deutschland, or in English, Chancellor of Germany. I love it how the Germans say it. Recently, Merkel has been seen with 3 episodes of tremors. This is uncontrollable shaking of the hands, arms and legs. Her staff blamed they were caused by dehydration, but potentially tremors can be caused by a wider range of diseases or health problems, and therefore I want to tell you a little bit more about tremors. Now, first of all, I'm not an expert on tremors, and they can get really complex. You have tremors in motion, at the end of a motion, tremors in rest or in a certain posture, all caused by different diseases or problems. So you would need a specialized neurologist, seeing the patient several times, doing additional research, and even he needs an extended history of the patient. So it takes a long time to come to a correct diagnosis. Therefore, I only want to tell you something about essential tremors. Those are the most common form of tremors. This is a benign hereditary form of involuntary contractions and relaxations of your muscles. Typically, this is symmetric in your hands, arms, legs, but it can affect any part of your body. It can be provoked by stressful situations, during movement, or by retaining a certain posture. Now, this type of tremor is not dangerous. However, it can cause inconveniences. It can cause problems during work-related functions, eating or writing, and so on and so on. Last but not least on the list is Pope Francis, head of the Catholic Church as well as Vatican City, and he is dealing with a health problem as well, although he's generally very healthy. During Holy Thursday in 2018, the Pope visited a prison, and there he preached that he was dealing with cataracts. He said, "At my age, for example, cataracts come and you don't see reality well. Next year I need to have an operation." He beautifully added, "The same thing can happen with life, when disillusionments, errors and fatigue cloud the soul." Therefore he urges us and the inmates back then to have a cataract surgery for our soul and to keep improving our lives where we can. Now, a cataract is clouding of the lens of your eyes. This usually develops slowly over the years and can affect one or both eyes. It's very common and is caused by age-related degeneration as well as sometimes eye traumas, so an injury of your eye. There are also some other factors that can increase your risk of developing cataracts. First one is alcohol consumption, smoking, sunlight exposure and diabetes. Luckily today, cataracts can be treated easily by surgical removal of your eye lens and replacing it with an artificial one. This brings us to the end of the video. I hope you liked it, and if you have any questions, then feel free to ask them in the comment section. Now, if you did like the video, and you probably did because you watched all of it, thank you, then also leave a like. This helps out the channel tremendously and lets YouTube know it's worth recommending to other viewers. In addition, if you don't want to miss next week's awesome video, then also subscribe, and I'll see you then. Till next week, bye bye.